Okay, so long story short, I kind of have obviously, well, initially I wasn't a fan of Bernie. I've recently looked more into his actual policies and um, like his voting record and everything since he's been a member of Congress for quite some time. And I've been pointing out to some of my friends that happen to support him how his views or plans are not concrete. He doesn't have the experience or requirements necessary in order to be commander-in-chief, and that he is potentially going to cause more of a security issue and be detrimental to our economy, security, and overall social service programs. And another thing is, I've just been not paying attention to any of the Democratic debates. I watched the first few just for, honestly, for entertainment factors, and I always watch both if I'm going to watch any of them, which I guess now I need to watch the Republican one. But with, as most people know, I'm into astrology. Saturn square Neptune. Neptune is supposed to be obviously the planet that rules the 12th house, where there's confusion, disassociation, disconnect. That's where cognitive dissonance also derives from. And then with Saturn, that has to do with the government structure, tradition, and it also has to do with, the election. Essentially, it wraps itself into the election itself. And so with those two squaring each other, it essentially means that the mass media or the government narrative is going to be completely skewed, regardless if it's malicious or not, regardless if it's conscious or subconscious. They're just not going to know what the fuck they're talking about, and or they're not going to be able to convey exactly what they're getting at, or they may not even know what the fuck they're doing, which is, I think it's a mixture of all of them with all the candidates that are in the race, regardless of what party. So I don't pay attention to the debates anymore. I look at, I've been paying attention more to their policies, and I've also been paying attention to any of their records, if they have, any kind of political experience. And then I've been looking at their character, and obviously, me being an astrologer, I look at their astrology chart too. And then I essentially, instead of looking at the candidates and then seeing which ones I like, I have obviously been doing what most people should. I've been paying attention to current events a lot more, not just on a national scale, but on a global scale. And especially gathering perspective from other countries and other narratives is important, because with this Saturn square Neptune and then the Neptune opposition Jupiter and Virgo, there's this huge shift in reality. It's like Wonderland, just not very entertaining in at least a frivolous way. It's a detrimental to our livelihood way. So I try to do everything I can to either prove or disprove any kind of information I find. I've been getting a lot better at that. So essentially, I was reading something online that somebody posted where Bernie Sanders, I've read up on his policies. I watched a couple of short snippets of him explaining what he's going to do for his healthcare plan, what he's going to do for foreign policy suggestions, and job growth and his free programs and stuff like that. And I just looked at the statistics and the math and where he's going to get the funding from this from, what he intends to cut, and he was very vague on it. But I assumed that was because he was trying not to specifically say, I'm going to cut this specific program so that I can fund this. I thought that he kind of had a rough idea, of an umbrella term, I guess, or an umbrella sense of what programs he's going to cut, but he just doesn't know the exact number from which ones yet. And then he is saying, he's accusing everybody of not knowing math a lot. So obviously I take psychology into account as well. So a lot of what somebody says, especially about other people in response, tells a lot about that person as opposed to what they're saying. So I never usually like to listen to the actual words that someone says. I listen to their narrative and what they're insinuating, and then collaborate with other people or other perspectives of that specific topic or person he's talking about, and see if there's a similar narrative or if it's completely outlandish. And then also looking into their character themselves and then seeing if they're actually projecting. Which the fact that he's very vague on his policies, and I just read an article about how he apparently his actual outlined policies are only a few pages long here and there, depending on which one. And just the fact that he's been in the Senate for as long as he has, and I'm sure he, if he had it his way, he wouldn't make the bills or resolutions that they introduce as long as they are, because I know a lot of that is a manipulation ploy. But you would think with how he's seen some of these bills constructed, and these different potential laws that they're trying to put into effect, that he would kind of be used to making things a little bit more elaborate, or elaborate on it more. And so I'm actually watching the fucking Democratic debate now, kind of. I was looking at it, I was like, God, fucking almost 3 hours long. And of course, the one thing I don't understand, why does there have to be commentary for a debate? I can understand afterwards, but why the fuck is there an hour long of discussing what they think or what they think is important that they need to talk about? Because, oh my God. I was telling my boyfriend about that. I was like, I understand those, they're acting like it's like a sports thing. I understand people having to make commentary for sports events because they're not talking when they're playing a sport. There needs to be commentary, but there doesn't need to be commentary about people making commentary about policy. You see what I'm saying? So I just actually was getting impatient after a couple minutes, fast forwarding this. And then hearing another lady that's, I guess, the Democratic House leader or majority leader that was saying, we just need to make sure that we don't elect a Republican to take us back to how 2008 was, and blah, blah, blah. And then the actual host brings up and is like, so what is your opinion on what's going on currently with the stock market and the economy? And she's like, yeah, see, this stuff that's going on right now, because she was saying that we're way better off today than we were in 2008. I'm like, oh, I don't think so. And then they're talking about the healthcare plan, how it's going to be either an add-on or it's going to be different than what Obamacare is. Either way, that means more money. And so if we've been pushing the deficit for so long, and we need to basically chop down and cut the deficit down in general, that means that we need to get rid of what we're spending. We can't just trade it out, because that means that we're still technically spending too much. And that's arguably, if people wanted to claim that Bernie Sanders has a balanced budget plan for all of his fucking ideas, what about the concept that we actually are already spending too much and we actually need to cut down more than what is already being spent? So that should be the first thing. We should actually cut down everything that we absolutely don't need and cut down the deficit and the spending for the federal government's budget, and then think about implementing some new programs that cost money. And anyway, now I guess I'm going to go and listen to this debate, because I can't believe that Bernie is being as vague as some of those articles that I was reading insinuates, even though I have the actual policy statistics myself. But the fact that he has an Aries moon, and I'm sorry to offend anybody who has these aspects. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not saying that, you're a horrible person or there's anything wrong with you, but you guys are good with instincts, not with critical thinking. And I'm not saying all Aries moons, but he has an Aries moon and a Libra Mercury. Oh my God. Oh my God. And see, and he also has a Virgo MC and then also a Pisces IC, so that cognitive dissonance that's being caused by Neptune and Pisces and Jupiter and Virgo makes him very delusional, not know what he's talking about, and gives him a completely unrealistic view. as to what he's talking about. And then also he has Mercury conjunct with Neptune, which gives him more of a, like, a Piscean, like, everything's gonna be great, man. We got this. If we have the right intentions and the right heart and we care, it'll all work out in the end. Nope.
What the hell is paid with good intentions?
Yeah, I was like, the fucking 60s. Everybody had fun, but did you ever look back and see how fucked up everybody was? Did you know that AIDS was the result of the 60s? Well, I mean, the 60s didn't cause AIDS, but...
No, that was some stupid idiot eating bushmeat.
No, I know, but the 60s made AIDS spread.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go watch this now. I don't even know why. But, hey, people who make the Democratic debates, can you please fucking not waste a goddamn hour making pre-commentary about commentary for policy that you haven't even heard about yet? Please. Bullshit. Stupid. This is just brainwashing. You know it. You know it's brainwashing, because there's no other reason. And also the fact that, like, every 5 minutes or so, somebody clips in, like, somebody saying something on hashtag Twitter, Hillary, blah, 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 blah. Fucking brainwashing for social media. I see how that is. Yeah, cute. You notice how, about 5-6 years, not even 5-6 years ago, it was absolutely fucking impossible to watch any of this shit on YouTube or anything like that. But because now all the media that is associated with government parties or political parties is intentionally trying to manipulate social media to gain followers, that now they're making everything free. Because I know that for a fact, because occasionally I would get pissed off at my cable company and just discontinue my cable. And the only thing I actually used to ever watch was, like, politics and news. And I was pissed because I couldn't fucking watch it. Like, if I had one of those antennas, I could watch, like, Simpsons, but who the fuck wants to watch that shit? I guess you. I'm assuming that's the difference between me and other people, is that people watch stupid shit, therefore they get brainwashed. And I just wanted to watch some legitimate reality going on. I guess as close to reality as I can get. I wouldn't call American politics reality, but, you know, I guess I'm gonna go watch my reality TV show now.